as a small business owner, we're going to shift topic, but thanks
Okay.
for spending some time introducing yourself to the audience there. As a small business owner, right? One of the challenges that small businesses frequently run into is time.
Sure.
Right? And you're the owner, and I know you've got a bunch of different resources that help you. At the end of the day, it's sort of your baby,
Right.
right? So I thought I might share this thing called the 3 I's of the Entrepreneur, and walk through this for the audience, and then you and I can talk a little bit about maybe how does this apply to you, and what are some of the things that you could do to maybe get better at dealing with some of the things that happen, because we all, as business owners, we all run into that little trap of getting under the treadmill a little bit too often. So this is called the 3 I's of the Business Owner, or 3 I's of the Business of the Entrepreneur, and this is based on a book by Michael Gerber called The E-Myth Revisited. Right, and so when an entrepreneur starts or a business owner starts, they have an idea, and this picture is really displays somebody looking outward, right? And we're looking out at the marketplace, and we're starting to ask ourselves questions like, what if, and how can I? And this is the entrepreneur mode, and this is where products and services are built, right? And you started saying, okay, how can I help people? How can I do this? How can I do that? And that was the beginning of your business idea, right? Without it, we don't have one,
Sure.
right? But then you start getting some clients, and you have to start focusing a little bit more inward on the business, right? And this is the manager role, and here's where you have to ask yourself some questions like, what if, not what if, but how much and how many and when, right? Because now we have to start delivering our products and services. And we have to make sure that if we don't deliver those products and services, we're not going to have a business for very long, right? Now, the place we have to be careful about is this last role here, which is what we call the technician role, or googly eyes, right? And this is that place where, you're spending so much time running around taking care of all the little details and all the little stuff and everything that's going on that you don't have time to spend in that manager role, or you have a limited amount of time to spend in that manager role, and essentially some people that get stuck there end up failing to deliver on their products and services. That's a quick crash to a business. Or you're not able to spend any time in the entrepreneur role, where you're actually figuring out, how do I improve? How do I make my products and services better? Right? And we have to have continuous improvement, or else somebody's going to catch us, right? Something's going to happen and kick us off the tunnel. So this last role is a technician role. We call it the founder's trap. And we look at that and we say, hey, listen, what can we do to make sure that we don't get out of that, right? So the model looks like this. If you take a look at that technician, and for your particular business, you've got sort of low-level tasks, right? And so what might be some of those that you've got in your business that have to be taken care of?
Well, a good example would be, the social media posting.
Okay.
As an entrepreneur, the owner of the company, I don't want to be the person doing the research, saving the photos, editing, copying, placing it physically. Like, I will oversee the entire project, and I'll come up with the content and oversee everything, give my stamp of approval. But I would like somebody else to be doing the actual posting.
Okay. And if they had directions and you were to pay somebody to do that for you, what kind of a rate would it?
I think the going rate these days, if you broke it down hourly, it's probably around $15 to $20. Yeah, it just depends on the person.
Okay.
You can do it by project.
Yeah. Okay. So then, if you were a manager, right, and so you had a team that was running your business, and you were the owner, you were the entrepreneur, right? How much would you pay the manager of your team?
Yeah, you'd at least to be able to survive in Orange County.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, it has to be at least $60K a year.
Okay, so $30 an hour, $60,000 a year, something like that. Okay, and the market sets those two roles, right? We can't, if we don't pay enough, we're not going to get somebody to do the social media posting. If we don't pay enough, we're not going to get somebody to do that management role. And it's based on the economy, it's based on the region, it's based on all those other kinds of things. But now you're the entrepreneur, right? So as an entrepreneur, who gets to decide how much you want to make for your business? Right? Sure. I won't ask you how much money you want to make for your business, right? But I will tell you that, $100 an hour, $150 an hour, $200 an hour, these are the numbers that I get with my business owners. This is why they're going into business. This is why they're doing the work that they're doing.
Right.
It's because of the long-term return, long-term value that they get. Right?
Exactly.
And the thing about the entrepreneur role, the market sets the manager role, the market sets the technician role, but the entrepreneur role is you get to decide whatever you want that to be, right? So the trick to this whole thing, once understanding that model, is to sit there and say, look, if you want to make $100 an hour, you want to make $150 an hour, whatever that number turns out to be, is you have to do items, you have to do things that are worth $150 an hour.
Sure.
Right? And so for you, right, what are those things? Let's just say it's $100 an hour or $150 an hour. What are those high value things that earn you the greatest return? Where can you add the greatest value?
I think the actual time I spend with the client, it's creating that emotional imprint for my client. It's the interview process. It's finding out who they are, and then I have to translate that energy, those bullet points, into a marketing campaign, into copywriting. So it would be coming up with I'm the architecture really of the entire campaign, and then I get my people to implement it. So the time that I spend with the client, face to face, on the phone, and then the creative, what we call creative, it's coming up with the creative.
Yeah, so that's a technical role. So think about it in terms of a doctor, right? The doctor, his biggest value is with the patient,
of course,
right? And you're saying your biggest value is with the client,
right?
For me, my biggest value is with the client, right? I can't help them, right? So with the doctor role, or these other roles, right? Who does sales?
I do.
No, but if you're a doctor, who does sales? I mean, you do sales for you.
Sure.
But in those other roles, does the doctor do sales?
Not typically.
Who does sales?
Just when they graduate from med school.
Well, there's a starting point, right? But what happens is they build a team around them that does that stuff, so that they can spend as much time with patients and in operating rooms or whatever else that they're doing, whatever their specialty is, right? So their whole team does that stuff around them. So if your highest value is actually spending that time in front of a client, finding clients to spend time with is something you would get somebody else to do.
Yeah, they have to outsource it.
Right. So dentists, doctors, and stuff, and then they also build. They do. Obviously, digital marketing has played a big role in activities that way, right?
Sure.
So those would be your highest value items, right? And so then the lowest value would be maybe managing the team, because if you're managing the team, you're not in front of those guys, right? Or all of the other activities that you have going on, right? So what we look at is we sit there and say, listen, what are the highest value activities? And then we take a look at all of the manager activities and the technician activities, and we find a way to transition those out, right? Because so we can get one more minute at the $150 activity, as opposed to that minute down at the 50. Because if we're doing $15 an hour stuff, if we're doing $30 an hour stuff, we're costing ourselves money.
Exactly.
We don't, we're not. We'd much rather spend that making $150. And if we're making $150, then we can certainly afford to pay the guy $30 or $15 an hour, right? There's still a lot left over for us for whatever it is that we want. The other thing that happens here is you building a practice, and I know you want to build a practice and create this, as an entrepreneur, you want to create this practice. We know that the value of a practice occurs most significantly in the entrepreneur or the manager role, right? When they evaluate the asset from a value standpoint, the 80% of the value occurs from the manager and the entrepreneur role. So it's essentially the products and services and the management system. Right. And 80% of that 80% is really products and services. And so it really goes down and says, hey, look, 60% of the business valuation that you create is about products and services, and how are you going to provide those things? And that's your architecture, right? That's what you do.
Yeah.
Right. So finding some way to get you in that space more frequently would be a very strong opportunity for you.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's talk about what you could do. What do you think, understanding this model and this process, what can you do today to figure out how to get more in that space? What do you think?
That's the most difficult question to ask a marketer or a PR person. We're so used to developing plans for other people. We're the last people we develop a plan for is ourselves. So this is great that I'm doing this show, because you're really helping me, dig deep and think, gosh, what would I do for myself?
Okay. What about business development? Do you have a business development person on your team?
I do. I have my Tall Chick consultants. So what we have done is attend networking events. I found that's the best bang for my buck.
Okay.
Because we are all so tall, we make such an impression that I just plant one in the room, and everyone comes to her to speak to her, and then we can pass out our cards and our information, speak to the client, find out what their needs are, and then we can set an appointment. Okay. So that has been the most powerful way to market myself.
And your deal would be to spend all the time at the appointments.
Once we make the appointment, that's where I come. and
Right.
then I meet the
So
people.
would we have your team set all of the appointments
Yes.
so
absolutely.
that you then just service the appointments?
Absolutely.
Because now you're doing your architecture stuff,
Exactly.
right? And there's a point in time where they may be able to do some additional things on top of that, so that you are then continuing to do the highest value architectural components.
Sure.
Right? What are some of the other things that you find yourself doing today that you would much rather have outsourced, so you could do more of that architectural stuff?
Just the processing of I hate reading emails.
Okay.
You know.
Oh yeah, I get tons of them. Yeah.
I mean, like hundreds a day. It's inundating. If I could pay somebody to read my emails and just sort through the ones that are the most important ones to read,
Oh, that's a good idea.
that would be valuable for me.
Yeah. So, how much do you think it would cost you?
Again, that would be an hourly.
That would be the hourly.
Yeah.
That'd be inexpensive hourly
rate.
stuff that they could come
Exactly.
in and read. It's like sorting your mail, right?
It is.
When before email came, the assistant.
Back in the day.
Yeah. The assistant would open the mail,
Exactly.
trash the junk,
Right.
give you the important stuff.
Sure.
Right? We're asking you to do the same thing today with our email system, right? Because there's just so much stuff, right? How much time would that free up for you?
Hours.
Hours.
A couple of hours a day.
A day.
Yeah.
And then you could take those 2 hours and go on appointments.
Exactly.
That sounds like a pretty good idea. Yeah. What else can we come up with? What are some of the other things that you find yourself doing today that really aren't that high value architecture stuff? I mean, just think about it.
Yeah. It's after we've done a promotional event for ourselves, and you get all the business cards.
Okay.
It's the data entry,
Okay.
and then it's the follow up.
Okay.
And you're sending out a nice little note. It was great to meet you. If there's anything we can do for you, we'd love to see you again.
Can we build a little system and a model so somebody else could do that for us?
Yes.
Right. Because once again, we want you to go on more appointments.
Right.
Right. Like if you could go on, I don't know how many appointments we could do now, but if you could go on 3 or 4 a day, would that make a difference for your business?
Of course.
That's amazing, right? And so you've got a team that's designed to get you those appointments.
Right.
What you have to do is get all this other stuff uncluttered and out of your way so that you can go do those things, right? So we had 3 action items. That's pretty good,
Agreed.
right? So
I love it.
Yeah, the first one was getting your team to set all the appointments, right? Now that means that you don't go to the networking events as much. Maybe the really high-end special
Yeah,
ones.
that's a little challenging for me not to go.
Okay, because?
Because I feel that maybe I'm very confident in how I can present our company. I have trained, our consultants
Okay.
to be able to present us in a positive way as well. But I guess it would be that fear factor, that trust level,
Okay.
that as most entrepreneurs or CEOs have.
Oh, there's this control thing. I got to
It's the
tell you, it's a
control
total
thing,
control thing. Yeah.
Nobody can do it as well as I can.
Right.
That's it.
But at the same
But you're
time,
right.
it becomes a thing that holds you back,
Yeah.
right? Because if you're at the networking event, especially if you're doing a bunch of them, right, that's time you're not spending doing the architecture stuff,
Right.
right? You're not architecting the marketing campaign, right, which is what your highest and best use is.
And,
for your
it
customers.
doesn't hold true for our clients. I trust my tall chick consultants implicitly. I send them out on golf tournaments, on product launches, on parties and events, and sometimes I'm not even there. But like you said, when it's your baby,
Right. Well, so how do we let go of that? Because
Yeah.
we realize that if we let go of that, we have this opportunity to do this thing over here.
Sure.
And so there's some things that maybe we could work on to figure out how do I get that comfort level that that's going to go, and we're going to get the appointments, and we're going to get the reputation, and we're going to maintain our brand, and we're going to do all of those things because those are important. You know what it is, you can control it. The question is, how do I get somebody else to represent that brand, right? So once again, getting your sales team, getting your associates to get out and do that work for you allows you to do more of that architecture work. Getting somebody else to open the mail, even if it's electronic mail, right? And what was the last thing we said? It was about, oh darn, I forgot what it was. Help me out.
Let's see, what was it?
We have it on the list. We can go back and look
Okay,
at this
good.
thing. But there was a third thing that we did. So and it'll probably come to me here in just a minute.
Yeah.
But we got 3 really solid action items about being able to make you more effective and more efficient in our little bit of time here. We didn't spend a
Sure.
lot of time at this.
I love it.
All right.
That's great.
So that's the coaching part of the show, and we hope people get some advice and understand they can do some of the same things that we're talking about doing.
I agree.